The television titan has returned. Today I will show you and explain all the secrets hidden in the new episode 67 part 3 of Skibidi Toilet which you might not have noticed. The camera titan has been saved, but not by who we expected. It was the speaking titan who was the first to try to stop it. However, what we longed for happened, and the television titan returned to Skibidi Toilet to protect his friends and have an epic fight against the Skibidi scientist. While all this was happening, several secrets were hidden in the background and perhaps you didn't notice, and that's what I'll show you in today's video. Moreover, I will explain everything that happened so that you can better understand the hidden story of this series. So if you want to know about all this and more, stay until the end of the video. If you enjoy this type of content, I invite you to leave a like and subscribe to bring you more content like this. The Skibidi scientist has been defeated. In the new episode 67 part 3 of Skibidi Toilet, we saw at the beginning the continuation of what happened at the end of episode 67 part 2. But basically what had happened is that the Skibidi scientist had revealed that he had a television screen behind his speakers, and with this television he used the power of red light to force the camera titan to kill itself by cutting off its head. Fortunately, the speaking titan managed to recover in time and grabbed its arm to stop it. However, this accidentally caused the speaking titan to injure its shoulder with the circular saw, causing it to release the camera titan, who took advantage to push it aside and continue cutting its head. But the speaking titan wasn't going to give up, wasn't going to let his friend die in this way. So he took out a knife and stabbed it into the joint between the arm of the speaking titan and this circular saw arm, which, remember, he had stolen from a Skibidi Toilet. That is, it wasn't his real arms. So it was an excellent idea on the part of the speaking titan to rip off that arm so that the camera titan couldn't continue cutting off its head. Despite this, the Skibidi scientist continued to use his power of red light, manipulating the camera titan against its will, and now made it hit and punch its face to finally finish tearing off its camera head. And at this moment, the Skibidi scientist came up with a better idea, using the power of violet light against the camera titan to force it to fight against its brother, the speaking titan. It is worth noting that these light powers do not affect the speaking titan because no speaking man is affected by the powers of television men. As we have seen a long time ago in episode 40, there we had seen how the great TV man had used his power of white light against the Skibidi toilets, and the speaking titan, despite being next to them, was unaffected. We had already talked about this before on the channel, and this is because speaking men do not see in the same way that cameramen or television men can see, as speaking men actually use echolocation to visualize their surroundings, meaning they can see but they observe everything differently, and that's why the light of television men does not affect them, but it does affect cameramen, and that's why they usually use these protective lenses. The cameraman POV at the beginning of the episode put on this protective lens, and the Skibidi scientist had torn off this lens from the camera titan, and that's why he can control it. However, there is an exception to this that happened in episode 39 when the television man used this blue light to control the Skibidi toilets. The cameraman POV and another cameraman who was also there were not affected, but this was because the power that television man used served to control all those in front of him, so he decided to control the Skibidi toilets to stay still and ordered the cameramen to be free and do as they please since they are his allies. However, what is happening now in episode 67 part 3 is that the Skibidi scientist is using this violet light against the camera titan to force it to fight against its partner, the speaking titan. Seeing this, the speaking titan quickly placed his knife in front of his speaking head to use his sound power and shoot his knife directly at the Skibidi scientist. However, the jet toilet was still there and was not going to allow this to happen, so it fired a laser beam at the speaking titan, preventing it from attacking with its knife and also destroying some speakers it had on its back, leaving the speaking titan badly injured, and the camera titan took advantage, knocking it down with a single blow and began to brutally stomp on it, while the jet toilet laughed at what was happening, and the scientist also smiled because his plan was working and the camera titan was about to finish killing the speaking titan. The POV grand cameraman could not allow this to continue, so he filled himself with courage and shot with his 2 rocket launchers at the SKIBIDI scientist's screen to try to destroy it. Unfortunately, this did not work and it didn't even scratch the television. If it had managed to destroy it, it would have stopped the Camera Titan's attack on the speaking Titan and would have been a hero. Even though this didn't work, this Povi Grand Cameraman is definitely one of the bravest, because who would dare to attack the SKIBIDI scientist, having him in front being that he measures 30 times more than himself. And what he feared most happened because the SKIBIDI scientist turned to look at the POV Grand Cameraman, which meant for the POV that it was all over. However, something strange happened and the SKIBIDI scientist's screen received an attack that damaged it. A mysterious knife had impacted its screen, which caused the Camera Titan to come to its senses and stop stomping on the speaking Titan and fell to the side. The speaking Titan got up a little, and together with the scientist and the G-toilet, they turned to see who it was. And it was an immense black smoke, and there were even thunder within this smoke, and the majestic voice of the television titan that has returned was heard. The words this titan said can only be understood if we play the video in reverse, because that's how television men speak. And what he said at that moment was the following. He warned the scientist that he's about to die by his hand. The G-toilet, upon realizing that it was the television titan, told the SKIBIDI scientist that everything was lost and it was better to leave from there. Therefore, without thinking twice, he flew away and the SKIBIDI and G-toilet escaped. However, the scientist could no longer escape by teleporting because his screen was broken. This television was what gave him the powers of television men, and now he has lost this teleportation ability. And it was at this moment that the scientist felt true terror, because the television titan was about to completely destroy him. The scientist had no other choice but to prepare for battle and pulled out all the arms and clamps he had hidden. The television titan said other words to the scientist, which were the following: and from the great black smoke emerged a giant purple and electric sword, which was actually a blade that belonged to the hand of the television titan, who has returned much more powerful than before, because since he disappeared in episode 47, he was repaired and improved during all this time until finally 20 episodes later he has returned. As he walked out of this black smoke, he began to receive many missiles that were attacks from the SKIBIDI scientist, but none of this even scratched him. We could appreciate how the television titan now has multiple screens, one on his belt, another on his shoulders, and even on his head he has screens behind his main screen. Surely this is because if in the future they break his screen in front, he has another screen behind as a last resort for emergencies, so that what happened to him in episode 47 does not happen again. The television titan approached the SKIBIDI scientist, and with the blade of his hand he cut off all the scientist's arms on the right side, and then with the same blade he removed all his left arms. At this moment we can better see the shape of the knife that the television titan threw at the scientist a while ago, and we see that it has a ring-like shape in the center, which dismisses the theory that some of you told me about this knife being the same one that was stabbed into the television titan in episode 47. But this is not the case, since if we pause that episode we can see that the handle of the knife does not have that ring shape. After this, the television titan tore off the screen that the SKIBIDI scientist had, and after this the camera titan proceeded to use the same power as the TV woman, which is to make the SKIBIDI scientist catch fire. Although unlike the TV woman, this power is with red light, while hers was with orange light. While the SKIBIDI scientist was burning, the TV man realized that he still hadn't died and even told him the following. Seeing that setting his face on fire was not enough, the television titan proceeded to pierce his head with his sword. However, it seemed that he still resisted, so he had to use the power of his chest reactor and fired a large violet laser beam, which now did make the SKIBIDI scientist die, causing a large hole in his face. After the attack, it was seen that this SKIBIDI scientist was hollow, meaning that it seemed like a shell created with robotic parts. Because of this, many theorized that perhaps this SKIBIDI scientist was an imposter, similar to what happened with the SKIBIDI and toilet in episode 65, that actually inside this SKIBIDI was another SKIBIDI pretending to be him. In this case, also within the SKIBIDI scientist, there was someone else, but it was himself, but in his original form. Let me explain this better. This SKIBIDI scientist is made up of many robotic parts, not because he is an imposter, but rather because inside this giant SKIBIDI scientist is the real small SKIBIDI scientist. Remember, the first time this character appeared was in episode 16, and it was the size of a normal toilet. Then we saw him grow a little in episode number 30, but he was still much smaller than now in 67. And this is because he created a giant robot to be more powerful and control it from within. That is, the real Skibidi scientist remains small but is inside his giant robot controlling it to be much more powerful. And now that the television titan burned his face, pierced him with the sword, and shot him with the laser beam from his chest, he has just destroyed the shell of the Skibidi scientist, the robotic part, but he has also just destroyed the real small Skibidi scientist inside him. Just after hitting him with the laser beam, it can be seen how something starts to explode inside the Skibidi scientist, hollow that something would be the real small Skibidi scientist that has just died. Although there is still the slightest possibility that he may have survived and maybe the real small Skibidi scientist was further down the robot and could have escaped in time, although I do not really believe in this theory, and I think that the Skibidi scientist has truly just died, both his real version and his robot. But I invite you to write down here in the comments what you think happened. I will continue to believe that the Skibidi scientist has definitively just died also, because of what Tafuk put in the description of this episode, since he said that everyone has a weakness, and the weakness of this Skibidi scientist would be his true small body inside him, which has just been eliminated even just after finishing attacking him. The television titan uttered other words that said the following. Practically, he's confirming that he finally succeeded. He finally finished killing the Skibidi scientist completely, so it's most likely that he has died for good. With this, only the Skibidi jet toilet remains to defeat him, and thus there will be no other supreme leader of the Skibidi toilets. Although there are still the Skibidi astro toilets, they might be forming another group since they rebelled against the jet toilet and the scientist in episode 60. We don't know what will happen next, but what we do know is that the television titan has rescued his friends and he arrived just in time, and possibly now he will grab them and teleport each one to their secret bases so that their companions, the speaker man and the cameraman, can repair each of their titans. And after this, the three titans will join forces. They will fight together to finally put an end to the evil army of the Skibidi toilets. If there was at least one secret in this video that you didn't know about Skibidi Toilet, I challenge you to like the video right now and subscribe and hit the bell to be one of the first to see all of this. I am Jorge Sak 115. See you in the next video, friends. Greetings to everyone and goodbye.